and thanks everyone who could make time the late evening hours or early morning hours to join this call. We appreciate your time, and I hope that by end of this webinar, we'll take away something, about QA testing and why QualityX is helping people do a better web app testing. Ayush, can you share your screen?
Yes. Just a second.
Great. So go to the next slide. So this is Vijay. I'm Vijay, and with me I have Ayush. Ayush is, and both of us are going to talk today for next 30 minutes. Yeah, let's go to the next slide.
Yes.
So what to expect from this webinar? We are not going to talk about what web app testing is. Everyone on this call qualified enough to know what is that. We have been doing it for multiple years, and you understand what a web app testing is. We are not going to sell QualityX aiTest here. This is also not a sales pitch. What we are going to talk about is how you can use aiTest to do a lot of automation very quickly, how you can get value out of aiTest, and how you can test your web app and release a very stable UI for your customers. High level agenda. I'll do a quick introduction on what is aiTest, and then we'll go to the web app testing and functional testing. So these two will be slightly, more of a monologue from my side, but starting with agenda 3, automation copilot showcase. That's where the demos you will start. You will get to look at, how AI is helping you generate automation code. And then we'll talk about web app testing excellence, and then cross-project testing. Again, all that will be demos. Feel free to ask any questions in between if you have. You can put that into the Q&A chat box, or if you want to hold it for the end, hold it till the end. Our intent is that we'll have enough time for any question answer that comes up your mind, or if anything specific you want to know about aiTest or any other thing about QA testing. If we know, we'll be more than happy to answer, or we'll get back to you if we don't know the answer. With this, let me, talk about what is aiTest. So, aiTest is a testing platform which is unified, where you can test your web app, you can test your APIs, you can test your machine learning services, ML services, and LLM services from a single platform. It's a unified platform. And in addition to this functional testing of web apps or APIs or ML services, you can also test them on for load and stress testing using the same automation code. New Gen AI feature called Automation Copilot, which will work with you because at the end of the day, you are a subject matter expert. It will work with you to help generate automation code, which would be very much closer to what you would spend hours and days to write, and then you can use that code, optimize it, and then quickly start testing across different browsers, across different browser versions, across different browser resolutions, or at different load scale. And today in this webinar, we will focus on the web app UI testing, functional testing. We'll focus on, how to generate automation code using Selenium BDD Cucumber framework, and then use that generated code to test your application against multiple browsers, or against multiple devices, or against multiple, versions or resolutions of the browser. That's the focus. We'll not get into performance testing, load testing, stress testing, or ML services testing, or API testing. A month back, we did a webinar on how to use aiTest to do the API testing using Karate framework, or SSO framework, or Playwright framework. We did that. We can share the last recording, or we can, answer your questions around that one-on-one anytime. So with that, let me jump on to, web app testing, functional testing. We all know why it is important, because that's the user interface that people look at, interact with your application, and any issue on the functionality or look and feel or visual can lead to the user attrition. So, from a business perspective, from a user retention perspective, and even for the functionality perspective, testing the web app is super important. Now we can test it into 3 different ways. One is functional testing, where you are testing the different functionalities of your web app, right? If I'm talking about QualityX, it has one of the functionality where it has an AI assistant called QA assistant called Tia, where you can ask Tia, QA specific questions and it will answer you. It is trained with multiple QA specific domain knowledge. So that's the functional testing because I'm trying to see how TI responds to different QA questions. Now, another testing is user interface testing, which is now I see a lot of people talking about. They also call it visual testing, right, where they are also testing, is my UI getting rendered correctly? Is my interaction to UI smooth? When I click on a button, is it working correctly or not, right? So, and this is important to make sure that the feel and experience, what we call it user experience, is really really good for your customers. And with this new age generation that you guys are, I mean, no one has patience to wait for a web app or mobile app to for 3 or 4 seconds. If any application takes a lot of time, we switch to another application, we delete that application in one button, one click. So we have to make sure that experience is awesome. And the third is compatibility testing. Earlier, when there was no automation, right? People used to just test on one browser or N-2, and then say that, okay, my product is compatible on these 2, 3 browser versions. But today, with so many browser versions, so many web browsers, and so many resolutions that your devices can support, compatibility testing becomes important. I remember a customer where it's a payment gateway customer, where for particular set of users, the payment button was not visible, and that was just happening with particular set of users. But payment button not being visible means your transactions are not happening, right? So you are losing money every day. And after a lot of time investment, we figured out that for a specific very old Chrome browser version, that was happening. Now, so and which humanly we cannot test. We can test just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 version, depending upon how much team size you have. So, and then we don't have access to so many browser versions also in our data centers. So that's why compatibility testing also becomes super important. The challenges are the performance optimization, because user experience is super, super important. How many devices, versions, browser versions, resolutions you can cover is the coverage and data management. Because testing with different kind of test data can uncover a lot of erroneous scenarios or the corner scenarios. So that's why we have to make sure that where our web app testing is very, very crucial and done in a right way. So with this, we'll talk about. Let's get into demo mode. Enough of theory. So we'll talk about how Automation Copilot, which is a premium feature of aiTest, can help you generate the automation code, and then how you can reuse that for testing your application cross browser and multi browsers. Ayush, over to you.
Thanks, Vijay. Okay, so I'll just quickly play the flow and then we'll go to the demo. Basically, what we try to do is we want to open an application and a test. It could be a web app, and then any automation, I would need to understand how the user is interacting with the UI, what is the input, and what the flow is the user performing. That could be easily recorded using a Selenium IDE, that's a side plugin in any browser, Chrome, Firefox, that you can use. Take that file, that becomes my input for the automation, and upload in Automation Copilot. Using our AI, we will then generate automation that can run it for you. So I'll just give the demo. Just a second. So let's say that I want to do it for a use case. So let's say this is a Selenium ID that I have in my browser. I'm using Firefox. So I want to record a new test, new project. Let me call it as QualityX webinar. And I would use our website itself to test it. So let's see how it works. That's our website, QualityX.io. And let's start recording. It opens up a console, a session, and the website is up. Now, for example, let's say I want to do a use case or test. Can I ask a question to ask-TM? That is a bot. So I want to ask, say, what is automation? Let's say what is karate. And let's say I want to ask TM. It goes and open up the website and it loads. So say, for example, this is my use case. Go to the website, put some input, click on ask TM and say it's loads or not. And let's stop this for this use case. And the test case would be ask TM question. Question QualityX. 1 second. QualityX. That's my test case. And then I save it. It always pop-ups what we want to do. So let me go on desktop, QualityX webinar. Just want to add a underscore here. I like it. And save it. Now let me take you the tool, the aiTest web app. Just let me close it. this one, and this one. So let's go to the tool. So when you come up to aiTest, this is the scheme. Basically, what we say is we are using Copilot to do your testing, and we support APIs, web app, and application testing. I'll simply log in using my Google credentials. So that's me. And once you log into the screen, in the left-hand side, you will see all the test types that we have. I'll select the project webinar. That's what we're doing right now. And I'll go to automation Copilot. It's already selected. In that, we have two types of automation. I have API and UI. So for this webinar, we will do UI automation. So the feature name, what is the test case or the feature I'm generating? It will be QualityX. The project is webinar. Feature description, if you want to add what exactly is the feature doing, and any API endpoint that you know. It's optional field. I will keep it blank. Now it will ask to download Selenium ID if you don't have, and upload the recording. So I do have that. I'll record it. So I add this QualityX webinar and upload. So this is a two-step generation. The first generation that will happen in our LM and AI is generating a feature file. So let's generate feature file. So we are taking a user input and generating a test case for that. The user input for me was, can I interact with QualityX and can I ask a question? So it will take just 10-15 seconds to get the feature file. Let's wait. And the feature file is generated.
Since we are using BDD Cucumber framework, so
Yes.
that's why we have a feature file concept here.
Yes. The feature file that I'm talking about, it's a BDD framework. Yes. How am I interacting with the web app? So I go to QualityX. This is the window size that is in my laptop. And then I click on the question input field, and this is my input. What is karate? I click on submit button and I scroll to the next page. Now let's generate the automation code. Now here, to run any automation with Selenium BDD based framework, we need a lot of files, say page definition, page object, and what the feature file is. We did generate the feature file, but I now want to get the page object. Basically, how do I interact with the page object and the step definition? Where is the location, everything. By the time it generates, let me go to the second tab that I have opened. So aiTest will generate you the three main files: step definition, page object, and feature file. But with this, you just cannot run the automation. You need the base framework. What we do is we provide you a base framework that aiTest provides. This take care of the reporting, the logging, the testing, and the structure. It's a very well maintained automation structure. So I'll just clone it and I'll go to my terminal, say webinar. I already have cloned it, so I'll remove it. I'll clone it again. Okay, let's just go into this. No worries. Let me open it. So by the time it generates, it will take around 1 or 2 minutes because it's generating 2 and 3 files. Just wait, and I have the framework here. So I'll walk through the framework. What is it? So we have base class. aiTest itself provides support to all the browsers, leading browsers, and leading devices, say iPad mini and so on. So anytime you want to run in automation, you have to set up the browser, the web driver, and everything. Then we have page object. How do I interact with the page? Step definition files, test runners are. As a good thing, we give an example of just going to 1 second. QualityX. This is not the one. When you upload it, you will have a Google example. I was just playing around with to have QualityX here. So with the example that is in the GitHub, that will have a Google website. You can just clone it and directly run the automation, and you can see how basically is the automation running and everything. So what I'll do, I'll go back to aiTest. Yeah, it has generated successfully. It's 1 or 2 minutes to go to get the automation generated. You go back to the UI. Here you can see the 3 files: the Selenium ID file that you uploaded in the system, the feature file that you generated. You can always click and view it. What is the test case, how it performs, and the scenario. And then let's download the automation code. As aiTest, we do say it's a platform where you can generate the test cases and run the tests in the same platform. So we will be running it cross browser. So back to you, Vijay. We'll talk about cross browser and then I can demo the run.
Okay. So what we achieved, Ayush showed us is the automation code, and now I'll have Ayush merge the generated code with the framework code that he cloned from the repo, aiTest repo, where it's a public repo where we have put the framework code for Selenium. We have for Karate and other prominent frameworks. So in this example, we are talking about BDD Cucumber Selenium framework. So I just cloned that, and then now he will show us how he merging. So, but before that, right, what we are going to look at is the cross-browser testing, where and by cross-browser testing, as the name says, right, we are trying to test our application under test. In this example, QualityX.io/home is our application under test, where there is one feature that he's trying to test is he's asking the quality bot Tia a question, what is karate? And then Tia would respond something. So that's what is the intent that we are trying to run. And IU should showcase us how he is using aiTest to test it across different browser types, different browser versions, and
Yes.
some of the resolutions and devices, right?
Yes.
And then the benefit is right of doing that is, you can test so many things in parallel. It's cost effective because you don't have to set up your own browser in your data centers, right? I remember when I was 15 years, 10 years back, when I was part of, or 15 years back when I was working with BMC software, in order to test our product across different browsers, we had to request IT to set up those browser on different servers so that we can test them. And it was months of process. Thanks to Browser Stack, they commoditize it by allowing us to create a farm in a Browser Stack and then test everything there, I mean, device farm or browser farms. And then now AWS too has those functionalities. So we can reuse those, and then test our application in different browser versions and test. And that's the benefit. Can you show for
Yes.
that demo?
Let's go for the demo. What I'll do first is, give me 1 second. I'll clone the base framework. Just make one directory. So I'll just walk through what we already have in the framework. Okay, so in the structure that we provide as open source, I'll just open everything up. Is a feature file, and that will basically go to Google. So this is just a plug and play. You can go, you can run this in your Selenium IDE or IntelliJ and just do ambient clean test. It runs the scenario. We also have a tagging done for that, so the test tag will run. So what I'll do now is I'll basically merge the generated code that I downloaded. So this is just I'll download it again. Just for a second, here, have it here, and like I said, we basically generate 3 files: the feature file, the page object, and step definition. So I'll go to feature file first and open it here, and that's the feature file. So basically, going to QualityX IO, setting a screen size, and asking what is karate. So let me just copy this and override this test case. Like I said, we have tagging introduced in the base framework, so you can always tag it as test present. Okay, the next file that we will copy is the page object. So basically, it will basically tell 1 second. How do I interact with the page? I have it here. This is good. And let me just copy the step definition file. So let me just make sure it's good. Yes. Okay. So everything is there. I'll just tell what is happening here. So for each of the scenario, like when I click on this file, what is karate? We have selected the right elements of the UI and the IDs that will interact with. I just now need to how do I test this in aiTest? What I have to do is go and just zip it out. So let me just do one thing. Make the zip. Webinar 2, let's call this, and I have it. Okay. Now let me go to aiTest. Tell you about the test type. So in multi-browser test, what we provide is a way to test your application, functional application, across multiple browser versions and devices. So we have Google Chrome, and we have all the versions here for Firefox, and then you can select a browser, a version, and then a screen resolution for that. So basically, I want to select a version 114 and resolution 120, and then I have 111, then this particular versions, and so on. I apply it, and then I say give the test name. So my test name is checking the question. What? Auth URL is basically the website URL that you're testing. There is next, and then automation code. So what I'll do is upload the automation code that I just zipped.
So there are 2 ways. You can either point to Git repo directly, or you can upload the automation code. So in this demo, we are uploading the automation code.
Upload, and the testing command is as simple as nvn test and my report location. Just 1 second, I'll check the report location. We have this as target, instant report. Yes, yes, copy relative path. Come back here. Okay, that's it. And then I run it. So basically now, as being a SaaS-based application, I would spin up that many browsers with the resolution and the version in the backend. So it's running in my webinar project. I don't want to save it. Let's just wait a minute. So you can see I have 3 browsers that I've selected: Edge, Firefox, and Chrome, and the versions 84, 86, and with the resolution. So this basically have a code start of 1 or 2 minutes. It will spin on the browsers and then start the automation. By the time it loads, I have already run one of the tests in the morning. I can just walk you through it. So when we did that, we found out that our website sometimes do not work very well in Edge 122 or Firefox 102. So as you can see, all the green bubbles that are here passed is able to execute that automation. If you click on any bubble, we can say we are able to run that test case. And it took only 47 seconds to do that. For example, Firefox, it was running for 3 minutes, but it was not able to execute it. So you can check your functionality of your website across all the browsers and the resolutions. Here the resolutions standard. By the time we talk about it, should complete the first round. And I'll talk about analytics. So the one thing that I would like to say is the time duration to execute that particular feature file. The UX or the user interface, where we say, okay, it's working very well in one browser, one version, but some other people are complaining it's not opening at my end. So that response or the compatibility of your website with the right browser and the version is very important. So how would a QA at your end test it? A QA will normally have 1 or 2 browser and 1 or 2 versions. Here in the tool, we give you a tool set, so all the browsers in the cloud. You select everything from devices to resolutions to versions and different types of browsers, and then run it at the same time. And you can see, okay, what's the best performance of my website and which browser is lagging the most. For example, Firefox 115 version particularly was slowest. Just to load the website and run the test case about asking a question, it took 193 seconds. Versus Chrome 113, the latest one, just 47 seconds. That's an insight that we can provide. How is your test case performing? How is your website performing across browsers? And the report, like it's a Selenium based, we have a Cucumber based report and extent based report. So right now, I'll just show you one extent report that is there. Sorry, 1 second. I have to go here, test reports, and then all the browser will have reports specific to them. And you can click any browser, open a tab, and check all the reports that are there. You can also see the logs. The logs are basically when you run the automation, we have all the logs, what's happening. Let me just see the extent report. So aiTest maintains the base framework. You don't have to worry about what type of reports, the versions, and everything. We take care of it. You take care of a use case and the generated code, submitting what is Karate using 𝐷STFO. Working very well. And the time it just took was around how much? 32 seconds. As you can see, just one test case, as you can build upon the framework, it will get better and better. And the best thing is we are exposing the framework to you. You can customize it the way you want. And the requirement that framework should work in aiTest is already in the code. So you don't have to worry about will the framework work or not. Just keep on adding your test cases, page objects, definitions, and then zip it. Or you can just provide me details in your repository, clone it. I'll clone it for you and then run the automation. Yes. Vishnu, do you want to add anything here?
No, I think the key thing here is, ability to quickly understand what's working, what's not working, looking at these, bubbles, right? And then generally, in a larger subset of browsers that we will test with, my experience is that, most of the browsers will work out because we have, the codes are generally that only few will be outliers. And the beauty is that, out of so many browser combinations, you can spot the one which is failing, or you can filter them if there are a lot.
Yes,
and then look at each of the failures very clearly. So click on any of the failures if you want to show the report, right? And there may be different reasons for that.
just look at
We can look at why it failed, and it can be sometimes the automation issue. It can be sometimes, the product issue. The challenge with EY automation is the flakiness, right? It's always flaky because of the changing locators, changing,
Like, yes.
right, like in this case, correct? It could not find the submit button. There was challenge with the locators, right? That, but the value that we get that, but the value that we get is very instant, and it works across multiple browsers. It may take, couple of minutes to, whatever time it takes, and then we have all the reports.
Yes. So the first one is completed. See what happened here. Like I said, yes. So we have a better pass rate, and like I said, this would be mostly about it's not able to locate that element. Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll have to look at that resolution, specifically in the Firefox. So this is good for us also internally, right? I mean, thanks to this webinar, I know what has to be fixed, but for any other application under test, this can be very quick.
And one good thing is size of the bubbles. So if it's
So if there are no questions, then I think thank you for your time. We will share this webinar recording, and also you can grab a copy of the presentation. Just drop a mail to t@qualityx.io.
yes.
Okay. So thank you for attending our webinar.